Dr. Simeon Roger, and welcome back to the fourth in our series of spiritual life videos. Now, it can't have escaped your attention that the central theme of all authentic ancient traditions is one thing. It's love. Love or compassion, the ability to cultivate love or compassion, is really at the center of everything. As even St. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 13 verse 1, you can perform all kinds of miracles, you can do incredible things, but if you don't have love, you are, in his words, a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And most of us probably can think of religious figures who fit that description, noisy gongs and clanging cymbals. And if you look at the entire history of the Christian, the mystical tradition of the Christian East, for example, all down through history in those voluminous writings, it's very clear the whole center of it is cultivating love and compassion. Likewise, in Tibetan Buddhism, for example, you have the Bodhisattva ideal, well, something common to the Mahayana tradition as a whole. The Bodhisattva as someone who postpones their own ultimate happiness for the sake of helping other beings. So love and compassion is at the very center of everything that composes authentic ancient traditions. And, they're saying really without that, none of it's good for anything. Yet if we're honest with ourselves, we have to admit that we feel love and compassion only really in very rare moments, and most of the time we don't feel the power of love and compassion moving within us, motivating us, directing our actions. We just don't feel it. So it becomes very difficult. And some people might even ask, well, why bother cultivating love and compassion? After all, shouldn't we be strong and tough? Isn't that the way people, people won't take advantage of you if you're strong and tough, but they will if you're loving and compassionate. Some people even treat love and compassion as a weakness. And of course, it's anything but that. So the question for our society is, well, why bother cultivating love and compassion? One of the reasons, of course, is it makes us feel wonderful. When we feel love and compassion very strongly, we feel almost ecstatic. It is the most incredible feeling, and it's also one that, it allows us to help other people feel wonderful as well. And when we help others feel wonderful, we feel more wonderful for having done that, and on it goes. Now, of course, some people might say, well, that's just sort of psychological, that's just an emotional thing. Well, we know it's more than that. It's an entire biological package. When we feel wonderful, in fact, we are secreting an entire cocktail of neurochemicals that are health-giving and life-giving. This ramps up our health and our immunity. So there is a biology of life, if you will. And when we tune into the energy of love and compassion, we're tuning into this biology of life. Conversely, there's also a biology of death. And negative emotions are exactly what triggers that biology. So very good reasons for, investing, if you will, in love and compassion. And we know that from various scientific studies, Dr. Emoto's water crystal experiments, for example, the vibration of love and compassion can affect material substance around us. Even inorganic matter can be affected. So very important and very powerful. And we know, if we're very attentive at least, we know that when we're in a mind frame of love and compassion, the world around us responds to us very differently indeed. So there are so many reasons for this, but perhaps the greatest one is that through love and compassion, we are enabled to shed our greatest burden. And the greatest burden we have as human beings is our ego. Our ego, in other words, our tendency to focus very narrowly and myopically on our own self-interest, or what we perceive to be our own self-interest. Constantly, really 24/7, even in sleep, we're often constantly focused just on our own self-interest. And of course, it's not really our self-interest, and that's what authentic ancient traditions are telling us. Our true self-interest is to help everyone. That's our real self-interest. So from that point of view, saints, immortals, bodhisattvas, whatever, are the most selfish people because they have correctly identified their true self-interest, and other people haven't. So the question then is, of course, well, what's stopping us? Why, if it's so wonderful, why doesn't everybody do it? And there are many reasons for this. Of course, one of them is that religions will often tell you, oh yes, you have to love other people, you mustn't hate other people, you have to love other people. But when we get out into the real world, we find our ability to do that is very limited indeed. And then we feel like failures, and we feel like we're no good and we're somehow defective. And of course, that suits the purposes of many religious organizations very well. Keeps us coming back for more, but it doesn't help us. We make no progress, and that's part of the problem. But if we look at the whole thing on a much deeper level, authentic ancient traditions offer us a diagnosis. And what they're telling us, and this is a diagnosis common to many authentic ancient traditions, is that we have a human tendency to divide the world as we experience it into three things. And we divide into three categories, we'll put it that way. So we use this to divide persons, places, things, events. We divide people specifically into the ones we like, the ones we don't like, and the ones we honestly don't care about. And that threefold division is merely, in their words, a symptom of a far greater problem, the problem induced by the ego, by this fake self, this artificial self, and this myopic focus on our own narrow self-interest. So we want to get away from this artificial way of looking at everything. Because until we do that, our ability to have love and compassion, to experience it, is going to be very limited. And the authentic ancient traditions also say to us, well, as long as we're falling into this delusion, we're succumbing to a delusion about what reality is. It's an illusory version of the world that we're succumbing to. And this restricts our power, our ability to cherish other people. It puts severe limits on that. And because of this, we don't understand who we truly are. And because we don't understand who we truly are, we haven't come into contact with our real core being. Because of that, we are unable to see the inherent value in every other person. And because we don't see the inherent value in every other person, it works the other way too. We also don't see it in ourselves. So it becomes a kind of a vicious circle where we simply can't value other people, therefore we can't truly experience love and compassion. Now, how do we reverse this? Well, it may seem daunting, it may seem even impossible. And you may say, well, I've tried it. I've tried so many times. I've tried so hard. Yeah, and it doesn't work. And you know why it doesn't work? It doesn't work because you don't have a method. And that's the problem. You're relying on willpower. Willpower will never work. You can never cultivate love and compassion based solely on willpower. So it takes the right methods. And when you have the right method, it can be incredible. I have seen the use of a right method undo emotional patterns, negative emotional patterns of a lifetime in a matter of weeks or even days. And that is what you too can experience in our next video, because next time I'm going to walk you through one of these methods for cultivating love and compassion. And my promise to you is if you apply this, it will completely remake your life. So watch for that video, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.